Doom: The Dark Ages has been recently shown to the public in a big way with a huge reveal at the Xbox Developer Direct event. It showcased a lot of features that have been on the minds of the community for quite some time, and the hype for this game is unreal. Before the event, Bethesda and id Software invited some people from the community, such as companies like IGN to content creators. I was among the lucky few who got to watch the reveal a couple of days before, and at the end of it, there was a Q&A with Hugo Martin and Marty Stratton, along with Bo from Bethesda. I really appreciate the invite, and it's great to know that my channel is still somewhat relevant in the community. There were a lot of questions asked in the panel, but I gathered some of the questions that I felt were important to the channel and to set things straight with the community. If you are new here and love everything Doom related, then be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with the content here if you like what you see. Alright, let's get going. The questions that were asked vary from each participant, and I would recommend to watch other channels to get as much information as possible. NoClip, IGN, Esquire, Alston were all some of the few that attended, and I assume they will be covering this panel differently than me, so get out there and see what they all have to say as well. Anyway, the first biggest question that I wanted to start with was about the music and who was composing it. This was answered in the reveal, but I wanted to mention that it was a question that was brought up in the panel. We knew that obviously Mick Gordon, Andrew Holschult, and David Levy were not involved, but now knowing that Finishing Move is involved, who have a good track record, would suggest that future Doom games are in good hands. I just hope that content creators can use their music from the soundtrack without getting copyright strikes. I guess we'll see. The next question was a big one on everyone's minds lately, which was if there was going to be any multiplayer modes in the Dark Ages. It's sad to say that there will be no multiplayer and only a focus on campaign. Honestly, at first I was pretty bummed out about it, but in all reality, the past two games couldn't get a solid multiplayer to work out for all players. Doom 2016 had a decent multiplayer, but it just didn't compare to other games like Call of Duty, Halo, and Destiny, to name a few. Doom Eternal's battle mode was mainly aimed towards those with a higher skill level, which for me I couldn't get into as much as I wanted. With a main focus on the campaign, id Software can now keep all of their attention on that mode along with future DLCs. Which goes into the next question. DLCs will of course be part of the game. This was shown on the pre-order bonuses for the deluxe edition, but was mentioned in the panel. Another big question was how each level will transition to each other. For instance, in Doom Eternal we had the hub, or Fortress of Doom, to return to and go to the next level. However, this time around, it will be more linear and like Doom 2016 and just go from one level to the next. The great thing I liked about the hub was the fact that you could see your collectibles and have a little break from the action. Collectibles will still be a part of the game, but more applicable in regards to upgrading your skills and weapons. This was mentioned in the reveal in the panel that the codex entries will be more in the cutscenes in the campaign instead of the lore pages that you would find in each level in Doom Eternal. There still will be a codex entry of sorts and a way to read the lore, but with how the game is set up, it makes sense to show the lore in the gameplay and cutscenes rather than making it required to dig into the codex or secrets to understand what is happening. This is not a bad approach, especially for newer players or those who don't entirely understand the lore that we found in Eternal, and gives players the opportunity to learn as you progress in the game. So if you don't care about going off the beaten path and finding secrets or codex entries, this is for you. A question that usually comes up before each new installment in the Doom series is how big is this new game? Someone asked if this is the biggest adventure yet. In fact, that was Dantix who asked that, I believe, and the developer said that it is the biggest Doom game they have ever created so far. Just for some context, if you played Doom Eternal as a completionist or to the very least took your time with each level, it could take you around 15 to 20 hours to complete the campaign. So with the Dark Ages, I imagine it could take around 20 to 25 hours to complete, but it could be more or less depending on how you play. There can also be other challenges within each level that haven't been discussed too much, but we'll find out later on what those could be. It would be cool to see something like the Slayer Gates or even the Gore Nest challenges as some examples. In regards to challenges, my only question that was answered was if there would be any enemies that are a Marauder type that we will be encountering in the Dark Ages. Hugo was the one who answered that question and said that there will be several different kinds of enemies that we will have to understand how they interact with the Slayer, learn how to parry their attacks just right, and know their combos. This is something that has been on my mind since the Marauder for some reason is still a controversial enemy from Doom Eternal. Under the Mayo picked at that topic in some of his videos, and he and other content creators were able to help the community understand the most effective way to deal with the Marauder. I always like to do the usual combo of using the Ballista and Super Shotgun, but there are so many different ways I have seen over the years, but all of that is going to change with the new enemies in the Dark Ages. I imagine some of those enemies will be the Agadon Hunter and that spider-looking enemy from the reveal. Both look awesome and just seem like the super heavy type of demons that we will face in the Dark Ages. There's also a new demon that has armor and an axe on this cover art that was from the panel. No idea on who that would be or how they would appear in the game, but it is worth mentioning. There are other demons in the reveal that look like a cyber demon with wings, but they are most likely just tyrants who will be taken down with a good amount of damage as before. I don't think the enemies that we will face off against while flying the Mecha Dragon and piloting the Atlan would count as those heavier demon types like the Marauder, since the bigger challenge would be on the ground as playing just as the Slayer. No doubt there will be mini and or normal boss fights while piloting those options, but the real challenge will be boots on the ground controlling the Slayer. Let me know what you think could be another one of those heavy demon types that are similar to the Marauder. The reveal of the melee system was something that blew me away. Melee combat has been a part of the recent Doom games, but this time around there are way more options to choose from. In the reveal, Hugo mentions which options there are, such as the Gauntlet, Flail, and Mace. This topic was mentioned in the panel, and the reveal didn't exactly say how you would use each of them. It was said that you would choose a melee option in the menu, much like which runes you would pick in Doom Eternal. Then you would use that option until you change it to something else. It was also mentioned that you wouldn't have all of those options available at the start of the game, and you would get them throughout the game along with upgrading each of them. Each option grants you 3 attacks until the meter regenerates to allow you to use it again. If you watch the gameplay enough times, you'll see the meter deplete each time a melee option is used, then the meter gradually fills up. I don't know about you, but I feel like both Heretic and Hexen were heavily influenced in the making of the Dark Ages. Depending on your character you choose in Hexen, you could punch with a spiked gauntlet, smack enemies with a spiked mace, and in Heretic, electrocute enemies with the gauntlet as well. One last thing I wanted to mention was the exploration in the Dark Ages. Marty mentioned that the game isn't entirely an open world game, but big enough to explore and to see the scope of each level. It makes sense considering how we can use both the Atlan and Mecha Dragon in multiple levels, and they are not just one and done kind of features. In fact, you can change the skins for them as well, which I think is an awesome additional feature. The figures can also be found in the game just like Doom 2016 and Eternal. Resources and upgrades have been more streamlined. For instance, in Eternal, there would be the Sentinel tokens that you would get from the ghostly Sentinel warriors that grants you points to upgrade the Praetor suit, the crystals to upgrade health, armor, and ammo, and the Maker device to unlock runes. All of those are now streamlined into a currency such as gold to upgrade the Slayer, making it easier to manage that feature. Things can still change in regards to that, but we'll see how that feature works at a later reveal. I am beyond excited for Doom the Dark Ages and can't wait for the release in May. This recent reveal has shown so much content, and I will be working on other videos such as a deep breakdown of the gameplay, locations, demon royalty, to name a few. The hype is real, and I hope to see more reveals and content to be shown prior to the release so that we can learn more about the game. What was your favorite part of the reveal? Let me know down in the comments. It's a great time once again to be part of the Doom community, and not too much longer until we can play the game. I hope you all have a great one, and don't forget to rip and tear. Peace.